Welcome to Java. Thank you kindly for joining me. It's February 25th, 2025. It is also Tuesday in the beginning of what is turning out to be a very volatile week after last Friday's sell off. Now, with this, I would like to say that I may not be able to make videos over the next 2 days. So, Wednesday and Thursday, I will do my best, but I will find it very difficult to be able to get to an area to where I can get these out, but I'll still try. So with that, I will see you Friday at the latest. But I'd like to go over some of the other things that are directing this market forward, as well as what happened overnight with the cryptocurrency markets. We are looking at our labor markets are also in view as the main indicator of what is actually going on in our economy. So with this, let's get started, as always, with our risk indicator. The MMRI, now it's at 287. Still high territory, but it's below 300 in the extreme. Now, this is because of the pullback. Friday was options expiry. Saw the market with a significant downward motion. We're in fear territory for sure, almost extreme fear. This is a significant drop between sentiment. So this is definitely the daily driver for the moment is fear. Will they buy the dip? We'll see. We'll go over a few more possible catalysts. Now, cryptocurrency drop did weigh on the tech sector specifically last night. Asian markets were weak because of this after a plunge in technology, so we are watching for support levels. In contrast, we did watch European markets did gain a bit of strength back. This was after the weakness that it showed after the German elections. So, where are we sitting at the moment? We've got the United States 10-year yield still below 4.5, so we're still in a good spot right now, 4.345. We're watching the relative strength of the dollar is gaining a little bit of strength. So this actually is going back to where it should, to where things should be, putting pressure on the markets. Now we've got the volatility indexes up 5% with all of this going on. We had cryptocurrencies, a little bit about that. Bitcoin dropped below the critical 92,000 level support, sitting at 87.9. There is possibility could go as low as that gap fill for 74,000 area. If it does, I think it's definitely a buying opportunity, not financial advice. May not even go down there. Doesn't have to, but there is in the charts a gap at that point in time where it would not surprise me if it did go that low. Now, sliding below this level, it does put it at a 3-month low. Now, we've got the NASDAQ futures dropping, also tech sector weakness. And the Japanese yen is also sparking these risk of fears. Now, why is this? Because it's becoming stronger. So there's more risk of rate hike. And what I've been talking about the last August, moves could happen again. So for right now, we've got very weak markets. The futures saying there's more weakness ahead. Don't try to catch falling knives. Wait till it settles, shows a level. If you want to buy the dip, just watch caution and know where your levels are. Okay, so with this, we do have a few other things that are affecting this. We're going to be looking at this morning, Fed presidents. We're getting home price index, consumer confidence. It's the confidence level is terrible. So despite what they report right now, with everything going on, the federal jobs loss and all of that forward, it's quite weak. So we've got a couple of other Fed presidents that can come out and speak if they need to manage this market, just in case. Tomorrow morning, we are expecting new home sales. That could affect the perceived wealth effect. Now, if people believe that their homes are worth quite a bit of money, then they tend to spend more, whether they've got it or not, because they feel like they've got it as a backstop. The reverse also is true. They feel like they're losing value. They panic, their sentiment drops, and they tighten up on their spending. Now, we had Home Depot come out with their earnings. Their stock fell because customers are still not spending on larger remodels as it's coming in. So having a little bit of a difficult time there. They did report this morning. We've got Lowe's reporting prior to market open tomorrow. So you can be watching that also. As Stellantis for the car market and a few of these others, we've got some artificial intelligence uh, stocks coming out that will be interesting to see how they affect the market as well. Now, I want to speak a little bit about what is going on and what will affect all of this going forward. What are we watching? Unemployment. In reality, unemployment is what is going to drive this. Now, all of the recent government job drops has to happen now. Let me speak about this for a brief moment. If you have all of the government jobs are public sector jobs. Why is that? Because they are paid with tax dollars. They are not actually productivity in the sense that they contribute to the GDP, but they run off of tax dollars. So each worker, private sector, which means personal businesses, have to pay their taxes in order to afford a public sector employee. So all of these cuts for the government must happen to slim down because we are looking at private sector. Unemployment is increasing rapidly and is going to continue. Now, with that being said, we've got a major company to axe nearly 5,000 jobs and cut 3,000 private contractors in a massive downsizing. This is BP. They're saying they've got more they need to do because they're in dire straits. They're eliminating about 4,700 jobs plus the 3,000. This is roughly 5% of their global workforce. And this is global, not just the United States, but they've got to cut over $2 billion in costs. Otherwise, they are in serious trouble. So a little bit more about this, trimming down on these jobs and employment going down. They're not the only ones. There's multiple companies that are cutting back, cutting jobs because that's the only way they're going to survive. What they see coming forward, earnings coming out, are dropping. We've got Europe must cut their electricity taxes. And this is a warning coming out to them because the electricity taxes are funneling up to the businesses. They can no longer afford their expenses. If they cannot afford their expenses, they have to cut labor as well as costs. So more joblessness. We did have BP to abandon their pledge to cut their oil and gas output as they're fighting for survival of the company. So if they got more oil and gas coming out, that pushes the price down. We've also got oil lower after finding support on fresh Iran sanctions. So they're going to sanction Iran, also dropping on this with all of the war that is going on as well. Now, I spoke yesterday. I've spoken a few times about this, actually. I'm going to speak about this again because there seems to be some questions. And also, this is a massive shadow war that is going on. This is the undersea cables for communications. This is map of the global network underwater cables. You can see how extensive this is. Now, of late, they've been speaking a lot more about ones up in the Baltic Sea. I'll speak about that a little more in a moment. And then also ones off of the coast of Asia, namely near Taiwan. So with this, there were a couple of other issues. We can see Chinese crew detained ship after subsea cable cut. This was off of Taiwan, so they're trying to cut them in the shadow war. We also had more than 4 or 5 cables cut recently in the Baltic Sea. These are the ones that were affected. So massive disruption to the communications. This is everything, including the banking finance industry. Over 98% of all of these communications do flow over these lines, not over satellite, not over wireless. So this is the mainstay and very much a shadow war. The other things I want to hit, I spoke about the mass layoffs of federal workers that it could hurt families and local economies. Now they're talking about they may not dent the overall economy, and that's due to what I was just speaking about, is that it would level out with a lot of the tax dollars. Now that being said, when people lose their jobs, they do tighten up and don't spend as much. So we're going to see a bit of that rippling out. Now we've got fabrics retailer Joanne Fabrics in the United States. going out of business, closing all of its stores. This is just one more instance of the small to medium businesses. They're a larger chain. They've been around for quite some time. And that's more people losing their job in the private sector that we've got to watch. So, with all of this, gold suppliers still facing unprecedented demand as large investors flocking to the precious metal. It's not even just larger investors, but anybody that can afford gold right now is purchasing it. There is a lot of fear. It's a risk of asset where people can feel that they've actually got a store of wealth after the US dollar has really lost much of its purchasing power and inflation is really taking hold. More people are waking up to the fact that the dollar is becoming worthless. Now, I shift over to Russia because there's a lot of talks about not just the peace, but also what must come forward as far as Ukraine war and all of the ripple out effect from the military industrial complex. They're talking about major deals with the United States, so this is positive going forward. They are offering them aluminum as well as rare earths. And so, what they're trying to do is do pre negotiation because Zelensky was offered this in exchange for a purposeful buyback to help build back Ukraine, turned it down, is not liking the deals that are being offered. So, in order to gain a bit of clout in the negotiating room, Putin is a very brilliant man and offering this instead to the United States. They take this deal that gives them much more power at that negotiating tables. There's a lot, as always, going on behind the scenes of these things. It's not just a line about aluminum or the aluminum stock or rare earths. Now, something not on your bingo card, I'll bet, is that the United States, along with Russia versus China. Think about that one. So I've got one other thing that I do want to bring up. This is a photograph of Greece, and this is just put here as a reminder that they do have some massive things coming out on the 28th, couple of days. They have strikes going on. They're going to be shutting a lot of things. So if you've planned travel, plan on it being disrupted. There is also a lot of trade agreements and some other things that are going on here in Greece, going to cause some difficulties. There are also the earthquakes are still happening down in certain areas off of the islands, cutting a bit of tourism there. And so in the beginning, I was talking about strikes. That's a very significant marker of prior to depressionary phases. So with all of this, the economy is in slow spiral downward. We'll keep an eye on things. As always, I'll be back with you as soon as possible. But until I see you again, my friends, stay free.